Well, that was the one and only Joan Crawford in Mildred Pierce. And to talk more about the film and the book it's based on, I'm joined once again by the author of the new TCM book, But Have You Read the Book, Kristen Lopez. And Kristen, tell me a little bit more about how the book by James M. Cain differs to the movie we just watched.
Yeah, the movie is very different from the book, mostly because of the Hays Code. And what always shocks me is how bordering on incestuous the relationship is between Mildred and Vita. There's a point in the book where Mildred walks in on Vita and her husband, Monty Barragon, played the film by Zachary Scott, in bed together. And instead of attacking her husband, she starts to choke Vita. And of course, the ending is different. The murder plot doesn't pan out in the book at all. Vita actually goes about her life. She uses the attack that her mother has put on her as a means of getting out of a bad contract. She blames her mother for ruining her voice, but really she's just using that as another con. And at the end of the novel, Mildred is left alone with her first husband, Bert, and they're both commiserating over what Vita has done to them. So it's a very melancholic ending to the novel as opposed to the more bombastic redemption arc of the film.
Yeah, and the film also seems to be a kind of cautionary tale about parents, focusing too much about their children, which I don't think you get in the book.
Yeah, it's really more of a story of survival and Mildred's struggles being more of a metaphor for the struggles that women face often from other women, that because of the war, women were finally being prioritized for their work. And in this instance, Mildred not only has to please her children, but she has to please society, and she's putting that at the expense of her own pleasure and her own desires and dreams.
Something you mention in the book, which is very true, is that Hollywood studios have always looked to books as options to make into movies, particularly because they come with a sort of inbuilt fan base already.
Yeah, there's a quote from W.S. Van Dyke, who did the Thin Man series. When he gave the book to the original screenwriters of The Thin Man, he said to them, don't use it as a foundation, use it as a guide. And I think that the best adaptations follow that adage, where they're not beholden to the source material in translating it verbatim. They use the book as a means of hitting the right beats, trying to find the feeling that you feel when you read the book and translating that to the screen. It's a delicate needle to thread, and I applaud any screenwriter who works with adaptations because it's tough.
Yeah, and as you say in the book, that films and books have different purposes when it comes to their narrative. You have to hit different beats.
You really do. In the case of Mildred Pierce, for example, it's a noir. So you have to hit all of those noirish beats, the moodiness, the intense emotions, the murder. And in the book, it's more pulpy. So there is a bit more of a salacious bent to it. Even if you watch the Todd Haynes miniseries, which is closer to the book than it is to this film, it's still a totally different feeling.
Well, Kristen Lopez, thank you so much for joining me on TCM tonight, hanging out and helping to choose this programming.
Thank you so much.
And we have another classic film adaptation of a book coming up next. It is based on a book by Harper Lee, so don't go anywhere.